All right, we're live. All right, cool. Good morning and hello, everybody. What's going on? Um, and happy Monday. Happy Monday to everybody where it's still Monday. It's already Tuesday for you. Well, then, congrats on that too. All right, so I just want to make sure that y'all can actually hear me. Last time I started the stream, y'all couldn't even hear me. But yeah. Okay, so today in this live stream, we're gonna have a relatively short live stream. Usually I'd go on for like an hour and a half to 2 hours or something like that. But today I wanted to go over how to use Amplify DataStore with Amplify API, specifically the GraphQL category. It's something that has come up before and I wanted to dig into that. I've messed with it before in the past. I haven't created any content on it and I need to go through this process again and do a little refresher before I can make a video on it. So that's essentially what we're going to be doing today. So yeah, what's going on, Willie? And yeah, let me know where y'all are viewing from. I always like to know who's watching from where. So yeah, I don't know. It's just like kind of like a little weird thing in my head where I just like to know. Anyways, let's get my head so that's not so big. Always better when it's not so big. And let's go ahead and start off. So I'm gonna kick this off with a new Amplify app. I'm just gonna speed run through this part because I've shown how to get up and running with Amplify before in the past. I'll call this two data. Two chains, two data. While we wait for that, let's go ahead and get an app up and running. Oh, we got Nihan to ready from India. What's up? And Willie's in the UK. Use a lot of your videos learning with Amplify. Awesome. Glad to hear. You know, I always love to hear when I'm able to help y'all out with something. But it makes me like in particularly feel good when it's with Amplify because I know there ain't that much content out there. So I was able to help. So all right. Now let's go ahead and start up a new Xcode project in the meantime. And this will allow us to get like some data going. Now we're going to keep it relatively simple. I'm just going to make like a counter app. We're going to keep it as basic as possible. And what we'll do is we'll use DataStore to update it, and we'll also use API to update it just so that we can see like how these two things interact. All right, let's call this counter to data. All right, and we'll do next. And we'll do, let's create it here. I don't know if I'm gonna actually create a repo on this. Not sure if it'll be helpful for y'all, but if I think it is, then I'll make sure that I put it on my GitHub. All right, so what we're gonna do is, like I said, relatively simple. We're gonna do the VStack, stack stuff vertically. We're gonna throw a counter, so that's just gonna be some text, right? It's gonna start off at like 0. And this will be like a large title, font.large title. Then we're going to do two buttons. One's going to be a button that's going to be able to update the data using DataStore, and the other is going to be a button to update the data using API. So let's do that. And data store update, and the action will be pretty simple, like so. We'll also do the same thing right here, but this is going to be an API update, like that, and we'll just leave it empty like that for now. And we could do this, yeah. All right, so now we have essentially all of our UI. Let's space it out a bit. Spacing and this will be, I don't know, 40. We will also make the buttons look kind of schmancy fancy, and we'll do that with a padding. Then we're going to do it with a foreground. Foreground color will be white. What color is the background, guys? Should already know this. What color is the background going to be? It's always got to be purple. My favorite color. All right, and then I think that will do, and the buttons will look exactly the same. Nothing too crazy. Let's go ahead and start this up on anything other than iPod Touch. Do they even sell iPod Touches anymore? Kind of ridiculous. All right, we're gonna start this up on anything other than iPod Touch, and let's see. Back over here in our browser. Bump that up a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll do 3. Bump that up. Go ahead and launch Studio, formerly known as Admin UI. Let's see, where is our simulator? Okay, boom. This is what we got for our app, right? Both of them should update. If you want, we can do like a little bit of mix and match. We could do one that increases, one that decreases. But right now I'm thinking, let's just do them both increase, and then we could change the logic on the fly. Simple, right? Let's see. So next, what we want to do is we need to set up our backend resources. So DataStore uses API under the hood. So all we really need to do is just work with the data and then pull that configuration once it's deployed, and the two will work. So no worries there. So we'll do an add model. We'll call this counter, and we'll call this value. It's going to be an integer, and it'll be a required field. Keep it super simple. It'll allow us to see all the things that are required when we're working with the API, right? So we'll do save and deploy. And this is going to take about, I don't know, like 5 minutes, approximately 5 minutes. In the meantime, while we wait for that, we're trying to get all this done a little bit quicker. Let's go ahead and start implementing the Amplify libraries, right? Using Swift Package Manager. So add them packages. Amplify iOS. You can find it at this GitHub address right here. Right there. Oh, okay. I didn't know about that. Okay, Xcode, you doing some things by yourself. Okay, I see that. Okay, so then you add this package right here. This is going to take about 60 seconds. Let's double check on our browser. Still waiting for that. And still waiting for this. Okay. Well, while we wait for that, I do have a question. So there's some content that I know that I want to produce. But I was curious, like, what are some things that the mobile development community is missing in terms of topics? Like, what are some projects or features that you have not been able to figure out because there aren't that many videos or blogs covering them? Let me know, and maybe I could touch on those. Maybe. All right. So we're still going to need the three different package products. We'll need API because that's what we're going to be testing against. We're going to need DataStore because that's what we're going to be testing against. And then we'll need the basic Amplify one, right? Add those 3 packages to your project. Should be good. Then what we'll do is we'll head back over to the app object. We'll do import, and we'll do Amplify. We'll do import. We're going to need AWS API plugin. We'll do import. Then we're going to need to do AWS DataStore plugin. I also have a snippet set up in Xcode so that I could just type in amp and then DataStore, and it's going to do boom, like all the magic for me. So as you can see, we're just doing the two plugins. We're adding them to Amplify, running configure. We'll need to call this. We'll need to call this in the init method. So configure Amplify like so. We go back over to Chrome, still waiting to deploy. We're almost done. And then we actually can't do anything until we finish deploying. So in the meantime, what we'll do is we'll head over to terminal, whatever. Install update, remind me later. I'm in the middle of something. And what we'll do is we're going to navigate to our project directory. So mine's in the temporary folder. It's called counter to data. And if we take a look, we only have two folders in here, right? The Xcode project and then like the actual source code folder, right? Now, hopefully it's finished deploying. It should be. Let's see. I know it's still waiting, but I was wondering if we could get the Amplify full command, because then we'll be set. So I have to essentially just wait for this thing. Wait for it. All right. Well, while we wait for that, we create two functions where we're going to be writing all the code. First one will be DataStore update. And the second one will be API update. All right. Oh, my head is still big. Why didn't y'all tell me? I'm all blocking the code. You get your big head out of there. All right. Is the Amplify code in Xcode once when you've pulled it from the deployed Amplify? Is the Amplify code in Xcode once when you've pulled it from the deployed Amplify that you could push to generate the infrastructure again? If that makes any sense. Okay, let me break this down a little bit. So anything that you essentially would write in Xcode in Swift is not going to be is not really going to have anything to do with your backend. And what I mean by that is this code that we write right here doesn't have anything, like it doesn't know anything really about your resources. But when we're in our terminal and we start doing the CLI commands, that's what is going to connect your mobile or your Xcode project, the code that you've written that is trying to access a backend. It's going to connect that code to your backend resources. So let's see, this should definitely be deployed by now. Okay, so yeah, it's fully deployed. It gives me this command, amplify pull. I have the Amplify CLI on my computer. What I do is I paste it in here. So amplify pull, it's telling, it's giving the app ID. So my Amplify app that is set up in my backend, this is its ID. And then we're specifying the environment name because you can have multiple environments in Amplify. Like, so you can have a development environment, staging environment, QA environment, production environment, all the different environments, right? So when I do Amplify pull, it's going to be like, okay, I need to go over to your Amplify project, which is hosted over here on AWS, right? And I need to get all the information about your project so that I can generate things like, this counter model. And when you let me know what kind of project you're going to be using, like an iOS project, I know to generate that code into Swift code. So let's pay special attention to what's going on over here. Notice that we only have like the two counter things, or the counter app, the content view. We just have this folder right here, right? When I hit enter, it's going to ask me a couple of questions to make sure it's going to configure it. Amplify is going to ask me a couple of questions in order to configure itself properly. First, it's going to try to sign in, make sure that I'm all signed in and authenticated, that I'm not just anybody, right? I'm going to say, yes, this is okay. I go back over to my terminal. It's going to ask me which default editor I want to use. Let's say I just want to state everything in Xcode, right? It's not going to really matter. Then it's going to ask what type of project. Remember I said if it's for iOS, it's going to ask you, or it's going to generate code into Swift. So we're going to specify iOS. When we specify iOS, it also knows that we're working with an Xcode project, and we'll try to inject the generated models into our project as well. Do you plan on modifying this backend? We're going to say yes, just in case we need to make any changes. This will take about 10 seconds and then it'll be done. Now, if I do clear and I do ls, you will see that we have these two newly created files that have been generated for us. Those files contain the information to let your Xcode project communicate with the backend resources. Now it knows, okay, you're trying to do something with API and you're trying to hit the backend. Now it's going to essentially know exactly which backend it's trying to hit. And then you have this Amplify folder, which is going to contain all of the different Amplify stuff. So now that we have done that, let's go back to our Xcode project and let's see, okay, so it didn't add the file. I need to actually talk to the guys because it has not been working properly. But what we want to see right here are the generated models, the generated Swift models for us. So what I'll do is, I actually prefer to keep it at this level anyways. But we'll just call it Amplify models. You could literally call it whatever you want. I'm gonna call it this because it is straightforward. And then we'll add files to this folder. The files that I'm looking for can be found if we go to the root of our project directory, right? This is where our Xcode project is. We go into the Amplify folder, we go into the generated folder, we go to models, and we need all three of these models, the Amplify models, the counter, and the counter plus schema. So let's go ahead and add those. Boom. And as you can see, if you look at what's going on in this Amplify models object, it has this register models thing, and all it's doing is registering our counter model. Our counter model is exactly what we set up in the studio, where we have the value right here, and then there's a couple of extra properties that are required that are automatically generated when working with DataStore, or not just DataStore, but I think, yeah, actually with DataStore. I have to double check on exactly who needs these values. I think both of them actually need it, but yeah. And then this is what kind of allows for the counter object to be converted back into GraphQL so it can be sent to the backend. All right. Hopefully that makes sense. Message from Daniel. Hey Kilo, great live. I'm using the Amplify to integrate on Android. Perfect. I am feeling like so is easy peasy. My next task is integrate Amplify with iOS project. Awesome. Good vibes. Good vibes. Yeah, I'm actually going to be working on some Android and some Flutter as well. So you guys should see some content coming out for that relatively soon. I'm hoping this week that you guys get something. So maybe I'll be able to help you over there too. Or maybe you'll be able to help me because I'm not like a huge Android guy. I know how to do some stuff, but yeah. All right. So now we have this Amplify models object, right? Remember how it had all those errors around it? Now we have this Amplify models object from our generated folder. All that stuff goes away. And now if I run the app, we should get this initialized Amplify successfully. If I did something wrong, well, then we gonna get this one, and I'm gonna be a sad panda. All right. Let's take a look at our simulator. Cool. Came up. See? Oh, man. Okay, so, so remember I was telling you about that, the file that is very important for determining, like which backend resources your app is trying to access? The amplify configuration.json file. Those need to be added to your Xcode project as well, which also didn't happen. So let's go ahead and add those back at the root directory of our project. We'll select both of them. We'll do add. And now when I run the app, it should work. Should get initialize amplify, right? So that's the success message. All right, we're all set and ready to go. Now we can actually start working with our counter object. So what I'm going to do in these updates is, since I'm going to be working with, since I don't want to necessarily, well, let's see. Okay. Let me think. Okay. And let me explain what I'm thinking about. Okay. So there's two ways we can do this, right? We can do this with a local variable where we're keeping track of the counter, so we only have to do the read once. This way we can update the local variable, and we can update. So we'll use the local variable to determine what the next number is, right? So if each of these buttons is doing essentially plus equal 1 to the counter value, right? We need to be able to know what the next value is, right? So if I hit DataStore update, I need to know that it's at 0, and I need to do 0 plus 1, right? If that makes any sense. So we can do it two ways. We could do it the local way where we keep that value in memory. We'll still have to do a read at least once. Or we could do it a little bit more of a secure way, which is going to be read the backend and then make the update. Now, depending on what you're actually doing in your app will determine which route you want to go. I'm thinking that we should just go do the read on the back end and then update that value plus 1. But it makes the code a little bit more complex, because what happens is now you're going to have a closure inside of another closure. Or we could use combine. Use combine. Yeah, let's use combine. All right. What's going on, Fernando? No, I don't want to be famous. I'm good. Same thing to you, Logic. I'm good with being famous. I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. All right, yeah, let's use combine. I think that will be a more fun experiment. Amplify, import combine, and let's go ahead and start doing this. So what we'll need first is, oh, we're still going to need that local anyway. All right, we're going to need the local value anyways to display it to the screen. So let's just work with that. State var count. We'll just call it count is equal to 0. That will allow me to do this. And there we go. We will also need to hang on to the tokens of the sinks. So do y'all want to see them done in Combine? Can't you use Amplify to get notifications when there is a change in the backend? Yeah, so that's exactly what I'm going to show. Well, actually, no, that isn't what I was going to show. Let's see, what do I want to do? Let's just keep playing with it. Let's just, yeah, let me do what Willie was talking about. Let's observe the changes to the backend. I think that's also a pretty relevant thing. Okay, so then we need to hang on to the tokens, var tokens, type set, any cancelable, like that. Do this, right? And then Willie was definitely right. Let's just do observe counter like so. And this is some code that we could do where we can get the updates. So DataStore by dot DataStore observe query, and we are going to do it on the counter object by self. Don't need a predicate in this, don't need a sort in this. And we'll do receive on dispatch queue dot main, and then we'll also do a sync. So completion will only print something if the completion is an error, failure, error, completion, print that error. Okay, oakley dokley. All right, so then what we need to do is we'll receive a counter, and what we want to do is self dot count is equal to counter dot value. Oh, let me see. Items. Oh, this is a snapshot. That's right. Snapshot. And this will be snapshot dot items dot first, because we're only going to be working with one, dot value. Let's just do guardlet snapshot. Guardlet count is equal to the snapshot items first dot value. Right? Else return. Like so. And then we could say the count is equal to the count. And we will be storing all of this in our tokens. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Bobby. I thought I was kind of smart too, but you never know. There's always someone smarter. Okay, so this will allow us to observe whenever there are changes to our backend query or our backend counter. Now, what I want to do is I want to make sure that I call this function as soon as our UI appears. So we'll do on appear, and we'll call our observe counter function. So the observe query method actually is going to do a query. It's going to check the database for the value, and then whenever there are changes, it will also update. I think that's right. We have to double check that. I actually don't think I've checked it with the update. We'll look into that. Okay, so now let's do the data store update. So we'll do amplify.datastore. What am I doing? Add datastore. Not add. Save. And what we'll do is we'll say let this is the thing. This is what I was thinking about. Okay, so in order for us to update the same object, we need to have the UUID. And what we can do, what we can do, do I want to do this? I think that if we hang on to the first counter, then we will actually be able to do, let me think. All right, I know what I want to do. I'm going to just store the, I'm going to go ahead and store the ID as well, the counter ID. Var counter ID, type string, like that. So now we'll have the counter, and we'll do self.counter ID is equal to snap is equal to this as a counter. Go, and we'll do counter.value like that. All right, that will work. Now what we could do is we can do let counter is equal to a new counter. We could just go ahead and recreate it, but since we're going to give it the same counter ID, then we will not have to worry about it creating a new counter. We'll be updating the original counter, and then we'll do count like that. What AWS service it uses to store the data? DynamoDB. Can you change it to Aurora? I think that you can. I believe that you can. I haven't tried that out. Maybe I should do a video on that too. So Peter, there are escape hatches throughout Amplify which allow you to like set up your own resources. The only thing that you'll need to worry about is making sure that the format of the data is in the correct format in order to like actually be able to sync. So we're going to kind of touch on that by the end of this tutorial. Receive on dispatch queue dot main, and then we'll just go ahead and delete the rest of that, and then we will sync. Actually, I mean, we don't really need to. We didn't really need to receive on the main, but whatever. I'm just going to copy this because it's going to be the same type of logic. We only want to print out if it has an error. We have this counter, and we'll do +1, and we'll do self.count is equal to counter value. We'll call this new counter, actually, new or save counter. This way there's no confusion about what's going on, and we'll only actually update the value up here if it was successful, right? So this is the way that we would update on DataStore, and we could finish this off by storing this sync in the tokens. And then the last thing that we need to do is essentially tokens. We need to copy the way that we do this right here. API update. We're going to create the counter the same exact way. We'll do amplify.api.query add, save, mutate. There we go. Mutate. We need a GraphQL request, which could be create mutation of, and then we pass in our counter right here. And this is going to be counter.self. And the rest we don't need to manually add. Model schema, counter.schema. Okay, so a little bit different. Request is this. Model schema, that, like that, and like that. A little bit easier to read it this way. So we're going to do a mutation on the API, right? We're going to do a creation, going to be a create mutation request. We're going to pass in our counter object, and it's going to be using the counter schema. Yeah, I got that new avatar. I was like, oh hey. I was feeling myself in that one. I was like, okay, I think I might have to just use that. And we will have this result publisher. Then we will receive on dispatch queue.main. We could delete the rest, don't need it. And then we will do a sync, which will look exactly, actually we could probably just copy, oh no, we won't be able, it won't work exactly the same. The completion will do completion. This will all be the same right here. Copy this code right here. Boom. Boom. But this will be different. We'll have a result. Touch on that right now. And then we're going to need to do the store. Right. Boom. All right. So result has all this other stuff on it, but I'm going to just do the get, and that will actually give me the mutation result. So let r equals, or we could call it mutation result, I guess, mutation result equals result dot get, and we'll do try. I'll have to do the whole entire do guard let else return like that. So now we have our mutation result, and I think this is where we do a switch. So we have a switch on our mutation result because we can have a success case and we can have a failure case, I believe. So case success. All right, let me see. Mutation result. I think this is right. Let counter failure, error, print error. So it's been a while since I actually worked with this, so I don't know if this is correct or not. So mutation sync result. Okay, that's when we go to the documentation and do a nice little refresh on the brain. Nice little refresh. So libraries, API GraphQL, getting started. We do create. Oh, okay. To create data, replace the request with create. Oh, okay, so we didn't even need the schema. It looks like the schema could be inferred. We got the success. Let's see. What to do. Okay. We could do the update result. We do the sync. I did that. Receive value result. That's what we essentially did. Oh, the result has it. Okay, the result is actually this, where we switch. We don't need to do this. Let's do this. And this can be inferred. Now the only thing is, I hope that the create mutation will work as an update as well. Okay, so then we could do self dot count is equal to counter dot wait. How do I access this? So let to do should have a value on it. Okay, what type is this? Mutation sync result dot model sync results guard let counter equals sync result dot model as a counter else return. Then we should be able to do self.count is equal to counter dot value. There we go. Woo! That was a little bit crazy. This always fails. Do the creation mutation. Let's put that back in. Maybe it can't infer what's going on. Schema. Counter dot schema. Now I'm like really confused. Amplify API mutate. What is it called? That's weird. Now the autocomplete doesn't even have that extra argument. Wait, what? Listen. Oh, that's weird. What happened to that second argument? Then what was I looking at before? No clue. Schema was inside the create mutation. Ah, okay. There we go. I was like, I seen something? Losing my mind? I mean, I haven't had my coffee yet, but damn. Okay. Whoa. Argument schema. Maybe it's called something else. I am deeply confused right now. Model schema. Well, excuse me. Imagine if Xcode gave you like help. Jeez. Jeez Louise. Sync result is the part that I don't understand either. So mutation, sync result. Maybe it doesn't give it back because you're passing it in. Kind of makes sense. Don't really like it though. So then in that case, if I don't need it, then we can just do self dot count. Go to counter dot value. Do let sync result like that, and we'll print it. All right. Something's broken down here, and I spelled value wrong. All right. So that should work. Let's take a look. All right. So now we do DataStore update. Well, you got to connect the code first. Oh boy. I always do that. Every single time every time I'm in an app, just like hit the button. It's not even connected to anything. Oh man. What's going on, Flo? Thanks. Thanks for the compliments on the profile pic. Yeah, it's been a while. Had to update it. All right, let's do DataStore update. Bam. The fatal error. What happened? Well, that's because so dumb. Okay, so let's do an if statement. If else self dot counter ID is equal to UUID string, like that. So what happened was, remember that I used exclamation point right here. Well, turns out if you do that and you don't ever set a value, it blows your app up. All right, let's go ahead and try to clear some of this out so we can take a look. Okay, DataStore update. Boom, got one. All right, cool. So now that was updating using DataStore. That's this code right here, right? You create the counter, whatever the count is, +1, right? So it should go to 2. Works flawlessly, no problem. So now when I do API update, I'm using this counter, I'm passing it in here. We're doing the mutation. That's going to go directly to the back end. Let's see if it connects. API update, and we don't get the update. So take a look. Contains, hold up, reading. Edition request failed. Status 400. Data. Double check. Docs. Plugged in everything. Oh, okay. So problem might be that I need to do the update. The creation might fail. So let's try to do. Other thing is this is update, and this is .create, and I have the whole entire word mutation in there, so that might also be causing an issue. I might have been working with the wrong thing. I'm going to try to do a create mutation, because if it doesn't exist, it should create it. And this is exactly what I was thinking, but I don't really work with this API very often. I work with DataStore all the time, so that's why I know the DataStore stuff. Okay, so we have the data being displayed. It's 2, right? Let's go ahead and see what happens when we do API update. Okay, so that also gives us an error. Wait, hold on. Okay, so then let's try to do an update, and then what we might need to do, if this works, then that means that we can't run a creation mutation if it already exists. So do this API. Oh, this one failed too, right? GraphQL service returns. Okay. Okay, so this is like the problem. So what we need to do is we need to actually include this underscore version. And what we want to do is we'll actually need to create our own mutation. Damn. Okay. Okay, so I only have 3 minutes to do this, and I definitely am not that fast. Because what we'll have to do is we'll actually need to create the API itself. And I don't know if I'm going to do a stream later today. Might try it. But thinking that I might finish this tomorrow morning. So I will cover this in the next stream. This is the part where I think a lot of people actually do get stuck, and it's because you do need to include this. And I wasn't sure if the API was going to include it automatically, but it's not. And the reason for that is because API is its own separate thing. You don't have to use API with DataStore, but DataStore does require that you have this underscore version value that's included with it. So during the next stream, it may be later today, or it might be tomorrow morning at this same time. We'll cover all of that, and I'll show you how to actually get these two things working together properly. So that's going to be it for today. I really appreciate all of you guys coming to hang out. Got one last question from Connor. He says, hey Kilo, how do you feel about the new surge of CloudKit? Do you think AWS is still the go-to? So let me answer that real quick. CloudKit. So I've never really had a good experience with CloudKit personally. But that's just me. Like, it could do some things, but it was kind of limited with how much you can access the data. I was never like a huge fan. Push notifications didn't like the implementation there. It's just like very limited. I personally like the third-party resources, things like Amplify, AWS Amplify, things like Firebase. I like those more than I like CloudKit. Um, but it's still a great solution, and there are a lot of great apps that are built on top of CloudKit. So if you want to go down the CloudKit path, I highly encourage you to. Um, I would say try to figure out some of the use cases that you know that you're going to try need in your app. Try to figure those out beforehand. Test them in a small little dummy tester app like we just made here today, and see how that works out for you. Like, see if you're able to accomplish all the things that you need to accomplish using CloudKit, and that will hopefully like that will give you more information on whether it's going to meet your use cases. But I've never really liked the idea of being locked into just the iOS like ecosystem. I always, even before I was an Android developer, right? Even before that, I never liked that idea of not being able to eventually port my app over to Android. So, Connor, it's really up to you. CloudKit is a solid backend. If you want to stay within the the Apple ecosystem, make it work on your watch, TV, iPad, iPhone, Mac. Really solid system. A lot of good success stories, but also a little bit limited. But yeah, all right. So that's gonna do it for today, or it's gonna do it for at least right now. I will catch y'all later. Thanks for your time. Go out there, keep coding passionately.